Hello everyone, welcome back to the fifth part of how to improve your middle game. Today, in this video, we are going to discuss and ask the fifth question to our pieces, like which piece do I want to trade? Because trading is the thing which is very essential in a game of chess and which definitely happens in a game of chess. So, which is a factor in a game of chess that is very crucial and many people don't know which piece should be traded. So today again we are going to discuss 5 critical diagrams and which is going to help you to improve your this perspective of which piece to trade. So after watching this video, your knowledge is simply going to increase by 100%. So again, I don't want to waste any further time, so let's quickly jump into the video. So coming to the diagram number 1, we have this particular position on the board. I want all of you guys to pause the video and try to think what should be the idea of white. Okay, so I hope that you must have had a nice deep thought, and you might have thought that the bishop on d2 is a bad piece because it is already blocked by his own dark square pawn. So it would be so good if we would be able to trade one pair of the bishops, because as I said in the past videos that the bishop pairs are actually considered very strong. So it's always a good idea to remove one of the bishops. So if we are able to trade one pair of the bishops, the knight would be so powerful compared to the bishop, because the knight is having the most idle square on e5. Because what is the fourth question, which says which piece do I want to make happier, and the knight is definitely going to be happy on e5. So yeah, so the question is, how should I trade the bishops? If you found the move knight to a2, brilliant and bravo. What is the idea of knight a2? The idea of knight a2 here is, I want to play the move bishop to b4, trying to trade one pair of the bishops. And black can't really resist it. After rook c8, I'm still going to play the move bishop b4. You can't move the bishop because the queen would be hanging. And after bishop takes, knight takes. As I said now the c5 and e5, both the squares are the most beautiful square for the knight. So the knight can simply come to d3, and depending upon the square, the knight can simply jump in, and practically speaking, it's already winning for white. So yeah, this was the first diagram, like which piece you should try to trade off. So yeah, so now let's move on to the second diagram. Okay, so we have the second diagram on the board. It's black to play, and I want all of you guys to pause the video and try to think. Okay, so if you found the idea of b6, kudos to you. Now what's the idea? What is the how do we came to this particular conclusion? So speaking of the position, which piece do I want to trade? First of all, like coming to the fourth question, which is which piece do I want to make happier? I definitely want to make the bishop happier, which is on c8, because the pawns are on the light square, so definitely the bishop is not happy. And as it is a close position, the knights are considered very strong. So how would it be if I be able to trade the bishop with this strong knight on d3? It would be too impressive. But how can I do it? If I play the move bishop d7, idea of bishop b5, I'm not having this enough time. White is simply going to jump in with the knight on e5, and white is pretty happy. But how can I do it? Can I play the move b6, hit the bishop, and the bishop is forced to move, and now I can play the move bishop a6. Now I can get the knight, because the knight cannot move because the rook is simply hanging up. So now on the next move, I can simply capture the bishop. I can simply capture the knight, and I can simply play the move rook c8, trying to take control of the rook, trying to take control of the c file, putting the knight to e4, and black is already way better. So this is how you should play this particular position, the diagram number 2. Simply try to think which pieces do I want to trade. I want to trade the bishop with this strong knight. It would be a good idea, but how can I do it? So just find a resource and just go for it. So this was the second diagram. So now let's move on to the third diagram. Okay, so coming on to the third diagram, we have this particular position on the board. And again, I want all of you guys to pause the video and try to think. Okay, so I hope that you must have found the move. Let's start from scratch. What are the weaknesses of my opponent? The first question. The weaknesses, I would say the b7 pawn and the d5 pawn, which is definitely an isolated pawn. and the b7 pawn is a backward pawn because of the strong a4 pawn. So these 2 pawns are the weaknesses. Coming to the second question, what is the weaknesses in my possession? I would say the a4 pawn is a weakness, but it can't really be captured. So I don't really need to make any worries about it. So coming to the third question, which side am I strong on? Talking about on the king side, both the pawns are equal. Talking about the center, I'm having 2 pawns against 1. I'm stronger in the center. My idea could be to play the move f3 followed by e4, trying to have connected passed pawn in the center, but it is a very long idea. And black is definitely having the stronger side on the queen side because he's having 2 pawns. But coming to the fourth question, which piece can I make happier? Definitely the light squares are weak, and I want to put my bishop on b5. But the bishop is actually pretty good on g2 as well because it is already hitting the pawn. So there is, like, I would say all the pieces are pretty good at their most ideal square. The rook can come to c1, which is a good move, I would say, but everything else is completely fine. So now coming on to the fifth question, which is, which piece do I want to trade? The b4 knight is actually protecting the d5 pawn, and it is also not allowing us to put pressure on the b7 pawn. So how would it be if I able to remove the knight from the b4 square? But the question is, how should I do it? Can I play the move knight e1? Try to play the move knight d3, knight c2, trying to remove this knight. And now black can't really do anything. I can simply play any of the move now, and I can just simply trade off the knight. And now I'm already putting pressure on the b7 pawn. I can play queen b3, trying to hit the d5 pawn. And practically speaking, it's already way good for white. White can even jump in with the rook. Queen b3, rook b1. It's already winning for white. So this is how you must play this particular position, the diagram number 3. So now let's move on to the diagram number 4. Okay, so coming on to the diagram number 4, we have this particular position on the board. I want again to all of you guys to pause the video and try to think, how should white try to continue this position and what should be the idea of white? Okay, so let's again start from the scratch. What are the weaknesses of black? I don't think that there are any particular weaknesses for black because like the c5 can be a weak, but or even the h7, but it can't really be captured so easily. So I don't think it is considered as weakness, at least in the short run. Coming to the question number 2, what are the weaknesses in the white position? I would say the e4 and the g4 pawn can be a weaknesses, but again, it can't really be captured because the bishop, the rook is protecting it, and the queen, and it is hard for the queen to penetrate into the king side to capture the g4 pawn. Coming to the third question, on which side of the board am I strong? Now let's try to think. On the queen side, having 3 pawns. Against 3 pawns. In the center, I'm having this particular passed pawn. As well as on the king side, I'm again having this particular pass. So I'm having 2 passed pawns. So definitely I would say in the center, I'm having the strong majority. I want to push my center pawns. But the question is, how can I do it? I can't really do it because the queen on e5 is at the most ideal square. I want you to remove the queen. So, coming to the fourth question, which pieces do I want to make happy? I do really want to make the b2 bishop happier via playing rook d1, bishop c1. This is definitely a good idea. But let's try to come to the fifth question, which is, which pieces do I want to trade? I really want to trade this queen with my queen so that I can get my 2 passed pawn rolling up on the board, and it will be so good. But how can I do so? Can I play the move bishop f1? Simply hitting this knight. The knight has to move, and now I can play the move going to h2. It's a very strong move, forcing black to trade off the queens. Because if the black queen goes back, I can already start pushing up the pawns in the center. And you can see how these 2 pawns are extremely strong. We are playing on the side of the board where we are strong. So if black captures the queen, again the position remains the same. The question remains the same. I'm again still going to push the center pawns and going to take this game into a win. So this is how you must play this particular position, the fourth diagram. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that you guys must have got the grasp of how to ask the question and how to solve it. So now this was the fourth diagram. So now let's move on to the final diagram of the day, the fifth diagram. So we have the fifth and the final diagram of the day on our board. So again, I want all of you guys to pause the video and try to think, how should white try to continue this position? Okay, so I hope that let's start again from the scratch. If you found the idea, I'm super impressed and you have already become better than yesterday. So yeah, coming to the first question, what are the weaknesses in the black position? To be true, I don't see any particular weakness for black. Everything is pretty fine. Like both sides are having 8 pawns, so no particular weaknesses. Coming to the second question, what are the weaknesses in white position? Still same, there are no particular weaknesses. Question number 3, on which side of the board am I strong? Both sides are having equal pawns, like 8 pawns, so I won't say we are stronger in any side of the board. Maybe we can play on the cooking side, but there's no meaning to it. Because if we try to play the move f4, black would be too happy. Black would simply capture the pawn, put the bishop to f6, which is the most powerful square for the bishop. Many people would like to play the move f4, but it is simply a bad move. So don't play it. Coming to the question number 4, which pieces can be happier? Do I want to make it happier? I really want to put my knight to d5, but I can't do it because there is the pawn on c6, which covers the d5 square. So can I kind of trade this c6 pawn? Coming to the fifth question. Yes, I can definitely. I can play the move b4. And now what is the idea? I want to play the move b5, remove the c6 pawn, and going to establish my knight on d5, and going to get a better position. Black can play the move a6, but still b5. Pawn takes, pawn takes. If black don't do anything, I will simply capture the pawn. And if black captures the pawn, I would love to capture the pawn with the knight, making this pawn permanently weakness, and also the d6 is weak. So most likely black would push the pawn, and now I can simply play the move rook a1 before jumping in with the knight. First taking control of the open file, and now simply knight d5, and white is way better than can you think. So yeah, it's already winning for white practically speaking up. So yeah, this is how you must play this position. Like, don't play the position on intuition, but play the position on your judgment. Ask the question to your pieces, to the board, to the position, and you are definitely going to find the answers. So this was the fifth question for today. Which pieces do I want to trade? If this video might have helped you to improve your knowledge, then make sure to like the video, share this video with everyone, because middle game is a thing which is the most important phase in the game of chess, and many people doesn't know how to play the perfect middle game. So I hope that this video might have helped them to improve their game. So yeah, I'm going to come up with these exciting videos like this. If you're new to our channel, then make sure to subscribe to our channel. I'm going to see you soon. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching Oneshot Chess.